Hi mga Cubs, PJTV ako pala ito, sana sa buting kalagayan at malusoging pangangatawan. Ano pa? Click mo na ang notification bell sa YouTube channel, sa Facebook page, paki-follow, sa TikTok account, pa-follow na rin. Maraming salamat. Huwag kalimutan mag-like and share ha. Tara, umpisa na natin ang video, ang topic na mainit-init pa.
This is a very difficult thing to do, and I apologize to my children who didn't like me to join this session, and also my colleagues who are my friends, but I have to read my statement. My name is Gloria Mercado, and I have dedicated over 40 years to public service in the government of the Philippines. In my last year with government, I served as the Undersecretary for Human Resource and Organizational Development of the Department of Education. I was appointed as DepEd Undersecretary by President Marcos, as recommended by Vice President Sara Duterte in 2022, and I assumed office in August of 2022 and February 2022. In February 2023, I was designated as the head of the procuring entity of DepEd. As one of the signatories of DepEd's checking account, alongside Undersecretary for Finance, Annalyn Sevilla, I signed checks related to all funds, and recall that each some of the checks that I signed amounted to 37,500,000 pesos. Between February 2023 to September 2023, I received a total of 9 envelopes labeled Hope, my concurrent position in DepEd during that time. These envelopes were handed to me mostly by Assistant Secretary Sunshine Fajarda, which she says came directly from Vice President Duterte. What she would typically say as she hands the envelope, it would appear that I received this envelope by virtue of my office as Hope. Attorney Fajarda is the wife of Edward Fajarda, who is the Special Disbursement Officer. Although the exact date evades recollection, sometimes during the course of my tenure with DepEd, a member of my staff informed me that an inquiry was made by one of our officers in the field that Mr. Fajarda had made inquiries about the bank accounts of several individuals, and if divulging such information to him was permitted. My office confirmed that it was upon the instruction of the Office of the Secretary. Evidently, it would appear that regional directors and other employees on the field would also receive sums on top of the regular salaries. Sometimes in October 2023, as the likelihood of a bidding failure for DepEd computerization have become apparent, I was approached by Attorney Monsayak, and he suggested in the presence of other officials who was with me that the bidders should just discuss among themselves. Mag-usap-usap na lang para hindi masayang yung pera ng 2023. I firmly asserted that the procurement must be implemented and conducted in strict adherence with the rules. Sometimes in the 3rd or 4th week of October, I was summoned by Zulaika Lopez, the Chief of Staff of the Vice President and Undersecretary of OBP. I was informed that I should tender my resignation effective that day. I refused to resign, and I insisted on departing from service through voluntary retirement. The timing of my meeting with Ms. Zulaika struck me as more than coincidental. It gave me the impression that my candid responses was the real reason behind the push to relieve me of my office. It was as if I had become an unwelcome obstacle, despite simply doing my job as Hope and Undersecretary of Human Resource of DepEd. Prior to my meeting with Ms. Zulaika, there were other undersecretaries and assistant secretaries who were summoned also, and were also summoned, all of the same purpose of informing them that they should tender their resignation effective on the same day. I signed my
In connection lang po ma'am, doon sa tanong ni Chair. Tanong ko lang po ma'am, nung naramdaman niyo po na may nag-aabot po sa inyo ng sobre, buwan-buwan, ano po ang pakiramdam niyo? Bakit hindi niyo po binuksan?
I must admit that I was uncomfortable with those envelopes, but parang ang hirap din kasi I'm not sure if others are receiving. Parang ang hirap din I didn't know if others are receiving. I cannot say. So ang ginawa ko na lang is I had this pouch that iniiwan ko lang sa office. Nilalagay ko lang doon yung mga binibigay sa akin na pera.
Sa pakiramdam po ninyo, para po saan yun?
Ang feeling ko is she has naman resources to give to I mean she has probably personal resources that she can share to her people, and I'm not really, ayoko mag-speculate, but the only thing I could say is I wasn't comfortable with it.
Hindi po ba kayo nagtataka? Kayo po yung head ng HOPE, ng procuring entity, tapos may natatanggap po kayo na buwan ng 50,000?
As I mentioned, it is uncomfortable, and that's precisely the reason why I wasn't.
About your interpretation of what it meant when you were receiving these envelopes. And you mentioned you narrated in your affidavit that the envelopes were handed to me monthly by Assistant Secretary Sunshine, which she says came directly from the office of Vice President Sara Duterte. And you mentioned that you quoted, "Galing kay VP," is what she would typically say as she hands the envelopes. What is your appreciation of that statement? Ano po yung ibig sabihin ng galing kay VP?
Mr. Chair, as I mentioned earlier, it's for me it's kasi meron naman siyang ang appreciation ko, the BP naman has other resources to share. So ganun lang kasimplistic yung tingin ko at first. It was only when I move out already that I give it a hard thought.
Of course, I mean, this is just testing to your personal knowledge. We have no idea, we have no clue kung talagang galing kay VP po yun. All that happens is that it is accompanied by that statement by ASEC Sunshine.
Siguro kaya mo nalilink doon kasi si ASEC Sunshine yung nagbibigay.
Because she was HEA at the time.
Yeah.
So you would assume from the HEA's closeness, proximity of both personal relation and by office, that she would have no reason to lie as to the source of that fund. Galing kay VP. But you're right, it could be a valid source, could be not. But I noticed during the interpellation of Congresswoman Luis Toro, you really had an apprehension. You said that bribery was too harsh a word. Could you expound on that thought?
I think it's just not in my language to say it's bribery because I have not experienced it.
And I would tend to agree, Mr. Chair, because generally when you speak of bribery, it's when you are offered a gift, offered compensation to entice you to do or not to do something that's within your duty. However, that's just the more general term of bribery. No? But we also have the other. We also have indirect bribery. And that's in the case when a person is offered a gift by not for any act to do or not to do, but by mere virtue of your public office. Would that be closer to what you were feeling at the time? Because there was no conversation. Walang sinabi naman po na itong envelope, gawin mo to, wag mong gawin to. But it was simply by virtue of your position. The envelope says it all. Hope.
Yes.
And more colloquially, kilala ang indirect bribery as payola. Did you have an inclination na ito ay payola?
No.
So you said yes to indirect bribery but no to payola. Would you care to explain?
It's those are words that are not in my vocabulary, so if you excuse me.
Of course, I will not belabor po, no, and I have a respect for whatever semantics you choose to prove. But I'm just giving the basis on the envelope only saying hope, and there was no gift or compensation to ask of what to do and what not to do. But it was merely by virtue of your position, it would appear that you're receiving this. One last question po on that. Would you know if other employees of DepEd received the same envelope? And would you know ano po yung nakasulat sa mga envelope po nila?
No. I would know of one, but the rest I don't know.
You know of one more. Would you be at liberty to divulge?
No.
Not the identifying marks, but at least yung level, yung position po niya. Was it the USEC level, ASEC level?
ASEC level.
ASEC level. So there would be confirmation of more than just the hope. Would you know kung ano po yung nakasulat sa envelope na yun?
No. No, we don't get to see because we're called one by one.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank the good USEC for this, for her narration of the affidavit here and being forthright. I'd like to just reiterate our hope that the envelopes will be produced as object evidence for us to discuss. And
I would say na you consider it difficult because it concerns matter about procurement and bidding,
Yes.
where there are a lot of issues surrounding, sometimes
And it's just,
issues
too
about
many.
bribery and corruption. You agree with me?
yes,
And what do you think is the reason kung bakit yung envelope nag-start lang during your appointment as Hope?
I think
Bakit
it's-
po walang envelope nung HR pa lang kayo? Tapos biglang nagka-envelope nung naging Hope kayo?
I think it's like an allowance maybe for an extra work because sometimes I have to stay until midnight to look at the documents when sometimes I have
If
one.
that is just an allowance, ma'am, then the rest of the officials of the DepEd should be receiving also their respective envelopes. Do you think so? Don't you think so, ma'am? If that is just an allowance, then the rest of the officers of DepEd should have their own envelopes as well.
Mr. Chair, that's precisely the reason why I did not open any of it. Because
I
that was
understand.
very uncomfortable on my
I understand. And that leads me to the next question, ma'am. Why were you so uncomfortable with the envelope when you believe that that is just an allowance?
part. Because, Ma'am, I'm 40 years, Mr. Chair, I'm 40 years in government. The only time I have an ombudsman case is when I advised my principal not to sign an importation, when I was the deputy cabinet secretary, and I advised my principal not to sign an importation because there was no rice crisis. That's my only ombudsman. I have to protect that name. Self-made po kami. I come from Samar. I was a scholar since I was grade 1 until I took my PhD. So I have all reasons to protect my name, Your Honor. And I'm in the home stretch of my career. And then I'm being thrown into that position, which I have no control because I'm only studying it. So that's my...
Ma'am, I wish to remind you of the terminologies which you mentioned already. With all due respect po sa inyo, no? Because I want to elicit this information from you. Kanina po sabi nyo, the position, the job of Hope is very difficult. Do you confirm?
yes,
Yes. And you did not open the envelope because you feel so uncomfortable. Do you confirm?
Yes.
And then recently you made mention na it was only once that I had this case with the ombudsman. Do you confirm?
Yes, ma'am.
And you also made mention that you wish to protect yourself. Do you confirm?
Yes.
And the
Mr.
reason,
Chair.
ma'am, is because you believe that that envelope is a bribe. Do you agree with me? Because
I'm
otherwise, you will not appreciate the job as difficult. You will not uncomfortable opening what you believe is allowance. You will not be thinking about the ombudsman case. You will not be thinking about protecting yourself. The reason why you are considering all these concerns is because you believe that the envelope is a bribe. Do you agree? Yes or no, ma'am?
It's kind of harsh word to use, bribe, Because if...
Or should I say,
Oh,
it is a means to influence your decision being the hope?
It could be.
You said yes to that? You said it could be.
Could be.
I wish to manifest, Mr. Chair, that on the story, on the narration of the resource speaker about this envelope she received and she refused to open until the same is donated from February 2023 to September 2023 is a means actually to influence the decision of our resource speaker being the one who approved all the
16 million without her knowledge. And she adds that she will provide the media with paper trail to back up her claim, describing Mercado as a disgruntled former DepEd official. I think, ma'am, given your long history and long service to the Republic, 40 long years, I think it's fair
It's
for you
very
to be
sad.
given the opportunity to reply to the Vice President.
I think, I don't want to do this, but since siya na yung nagsabi, i-turn over ko na yung envelope. The envelopes where the money was.
Comsec.
So
Paki-
it's 9 envelopes.
Kuha po yung
So
envelope.
it says hope and the amount is there. Kasi ang sakit naman nun, ordinaryo lang akong trabahante tapos inano ka ng Vice President, di ba? It's very painful.
Ma'am, ilang taon na po kayo? I hope you don't mind. Hindi, gusto ko lang pong malaman kasi sabi po ninyo 40 years na po kayo in government.
I'm 65, sir, but I...
So when the time when you were appointed as USEC noong 2022 ba? 2022? How old were you at
I
that
was 64.
time? 64.
Yeah.
I'm sure sa edad ninyong yan, after pagkatapos nyo pong pag-ingatan yung inyong pangalan for the past 40 years?
Sabutin ko yun. Yes, sir.
So, okay, anyway, thank
Sir,
you.
Mr. Chairman,
I'd like to...
Mr. Chairman,
Sino yun?
Mr. Chairman, dito po ako.
Ay,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair, can I continue first? with
Congressman, wait, before I recognize Congressman Paduano, ma'am. Yes.
I believe
With the indulgence of Congressman Asidre, please continue, Congressman.
Mr. Chair, can we allow Yusek Mercado to continue with the response? Because I was trying to ask her about the 16 million that the Vice President mentioned.
Please respond with respect to the 16 million. 1660.
16.
16 million.
I would like to respond to that because it's a press con. When I was called for by Yusek Sulaika, he said, Yusek Mercado, you have to go because one, you have a teacher in your staff. But I explained to them that the teacher was a contract of services when I joined DepEd. And the teacher has a pending application in Cebu because he's from the Visayas. And while he was working with us, he qualified for the RQA. But then when he received his appointment as a teacher, it was already past the opening of the class. It was almost opening, and the teaching load was already apportioned. So I called the RD. I said, can I still keep him? Because he was working on the special hardship allowance, which was a program that BP Sara also wanted to improve because there's a new hardship allowance, and we were just able to reduce the hardship threshold from 0.37 to 0.33. And she wanted the basis for the giving of the hardship allowance, special hardship allowance, revisited. So that's why that guy was the one working on it. So I explained, and I don't feel at all na guilty ako dun sa sinabi niya. The second one is, Sulaika mentioned that I solicited from 2 agencies. So I explained to her that it was a program which our strand developed. There were 2 consultants from UNICEF who developed the app, and then we asked our external partnership office to look for external partners who will be presenting the program, because we developed the concept. It was DepEd Guru. It's her being able to contact the 980,000 teachers. Parang kahit nasan siya, pwede niyang makausap yung mga teachers. The second one was for us to do an electronic mode of the RQA. Parang there's no human intervention anymore. Everyone uploads the credential. Even the computation of the teacher qualification is already on an what do you call this? Wala na siyang human intervention. So that was the program. It wasn't us who choose who would be the partners who will be invited. It was the external partnership. So we made a presentation to almost all the corporations. And then some of the corporations appreciated that it's a very important program. So some of them committed to buy, kasi what we did is we divided the total fund of 16 million into chewable chunks. So if you're interested with this package, ito lang. If you're interested with it, because not everyone naman wanted to pay the 16 million. But there were 2 corporations who were willing to fund, because we wanted to put one in Mindanao, one in Visayas, and one in Luzon. So there were 2 who committed to fund the full package, and those were the 2 corporations that Yusek Sulaika said I solicited. So I explained properly. I did not solicit. There's no money involved there. These are equipments. Walang cash po doon. Equipment siya na ito-turn over sa DepEd. So I feel very sad that up until now, the BP has not been appraised, as I explained it to her people, that we did not solicit. In fact, the two corporations are willing to give an affidavit that I have no solicitation from them of 16 million.
So to reiterate, Mr. Chair, Yusek, first, this was a sanctioned DepEd project.
It's a DepEd project.
Second,
yes.
you did not do the solicitation yourself.
It was managed by the
external partnerships office. Third, no cash donation was ever made.
Equipments.
Equipment was given to the department. So none of this, what allegations that the Vice President's making against you is true.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chair. And that makes it very sad because she's saying it now